the ball and go after it, you'll get the rebounds.
24 for Sammy Whitcomb in the first half. She's 9 of 11 from the floor. Geisel Suter clears.
The 11-year-old boy's voice cracked as he called out to strangers passing by the entrance of the Indianapolis grocery store. His cardboard box of candy bars trembling in his small, cold, stiffened hands, and Caitlin Clark almost walked straight past him until she heard the sentence that froze her in place. "Please, my mama needs medicine, and I'm trying to help her." The sheer weight of those words, so heavy, so adult, so wrong to be spoken by someone still on the edge of childhood, cut through the February air sharper than the winter wind biting through her coat, and Caitlin felt something inside her stop. How could a child stand in the freezing cold for hours, not for pocket money, not for a school fundraiser, but to save his mother's life? Caitlin had just finished practice at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the kind of brutal practice that leaves your muscles shaking, and the Indiana winter that year had been unforgiving, turning every breath into mist and every uncovered finger numb. So she kept her hood low, sunglasses on, slipping into the Kroger on Market Street to pick up a few things unnoticed. But then she saw him, a small boy standing alone outside the automatic doors, wearing a coat far too thin for the weather, sleeves stopping several inches above his wrists, jeans torn not by fashion but by wear, shoes held together with strips of duct tape, and fingers so red and cracked from cold that Caitlin felt pain just looking at them. His eyes were the worst part. Big brown eyes struggling to stay hopeful, worn by exhaustion and fear that no child should ever have to carry, yet determined to keep smiling because hope was the only thing he could afford. "Candy bars, $1, he called out, forcing cheer into his voice. "Help support my family." People walked past with the indifferent society reserves for children who were hurting quietly. Some shook their heads, others muttered, "No thank you," annoyed, and a few tossed coins into his box without ever meeting his eyes. Caitlin watched his shoulders drop each time someone ignored him, watched him gather himself, inhale, and paste on that hopeful little smile before trying yet again. She approached him slowly. "Hey," she said, lowering her hood so he could see her face. "How long have you been out here?" The boy looked up, and his practiced sales expression faltered. "Since school let out, ma'am. About 3 hours." 3 hours? In this cold? He nodded. "And how much have you made?" He counted quickly and said, $14. $14 for 3 hours of freezing, begging, hoping. Something inside her twisted. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Elijah. Elijah Thompson." "I'm Caitlin," she said, kneeling slightly to his level. "You said you're trying to help your family. What's going on?" Elijah's eyes shimmered, tears gathering but refusing to fall. "My mom is sick, really sick. She's got diabetes and needs insulin, but we don't have insurance anymore, 'cause she lost her job. The insulin costs $300 a month. I'm trying to help her. I'm trying to make enough money so she doesn't have to choose between her medicine and our rent." The words came out fast, terrified, rehearsed, as if he'd been carrying them for too long. Caitlin felt her throat tighten. "Where's your mom now?" "At home. She doesn't know I'm doing this. She thinks I'm at my mate Marcus's house. If she knew, she'd make me stop even though we need the money. She says I'm supposed to be a kid, not the man of the house. But someone's gotta help." Caitlin exhaled, overwhelmed by the injustice of it. "Elijah, I want to buy all your candy bars. How many are left?" "All of them." His voice trembled. "That's 36 bars."
$36.
"I know," she said, pulling out $50. "Keep the change. And Elijah, if it's all right, I'd like to meet your mom." The shock on his face was almost painful to witness. "Why would you want to do that?" "Because I think some moments happen for a reason," Caitlin said quietly. He scribbled his address on a scrap of paper. "We live in the flats on 10th Street, Building C, Apartment 2B. When does your mom expect you home?" 6. It was 4:30. "I'll come round at 6:30. Is that all right?" Elijah nodded, uncertain but hopeful. Driving home, Caitlin couldn't shake the image of Elijah's too-thin coat, his cracked fingers, the pain in his voice. She made calls, to her financial advisor, to a friend in healthcare, to her teammate Kelsey Mitchell, who simply told her, "Go, listen, then help." At 6:20, she arrived at the 10th Street Apartments. Run-down, dimly lit, the sort of place people clung to when life gave them no choice. She climbed the stairs with grocery bags in her arms and knocked. Elijah opened the door, face lighting up. "Miss Caitlin, you came?" The apartment was tiny but immaculate. Elijah's drawings taped to the wall, a vase of fake flowers on the table, a patchwork blanket stitched lovingly over a worn sofa. And on that sofa sat a woman who made Caitlin's breath catch. She was thin, too thin, with a gray tinge to her skin and hands trembling faintly from uncontrolled blood sugar. But when she looked up, Caitlin recognized her instantly. "Mom," Elijah said proudly, "this is Miss Caitlin. She bought all my candy bars." The woman's eyes widened. "Elijah, you weren't supposed to be selling candy." Elijah lowered his head. "I wanted to help, Mama. I made $50. Her face crumpled, tears spilling. "Baby, you're not supposed to be worrying about insulin." Caitlin stepped forward carefully.
Mom, I'm Caitlin Clark.
"And I think we've met before." The woman looked up, studying her, and then a flicker of recognition passed over her face. "Caitlin? Little Caitlin Clark from the youth basketball camp?" Memories collided. The dusty gym in Des Moines, the summer heat, the volunteer coach barely older than a girl herself who had knelt beside 8-year-old Caitlin and said, "You're going to be special. I can see it in how you move. Don't let anyone tell you you're too small." Caitlin whispered, "Miss Jennifer?" The woman nodded. "Jennifer Thompson. I go by Jenny now." Caitlin felt her eyes sting. "You were the first person outside my family who believed in me." Jennifer smiled sadly. "And now my boy is the one standing outside a shop in the cold." "Not anymore," Caitlin said firmly. And in that moment she made a decision that would ripple far beyond this flat, far beyond the cold night outside. She would ensure Jennifer never had to choose between insulin and rent again, that Elijah would never have to sell candy bars in the cold, and that the kindness given to her 15 years ago would return home with interest, because some debts are paid not in money, but in humanity, dignity.
Execution.
Oh, beautiful pass. Enrique with her 4th assist.
I think sometimes people, they take her for granted.
Caitlin felt her throat tighten as Jenny spoke, because the more she listened, the more she understood that this moment was not random, but the quiet completion of a circle that had begun when she was only a child. Jenny, trembling slightly as the effects of rationed insulin pulsed through her, tried to wave away the help, insisting she had never encouraged young players for any reward, only because she believed in nurturing goodness where she saw it. But as Elijah wiped his tears and clung to his mother, Caitlin realized that belief, when planted in a vulnerable child, grows into something powerful, something capable of returning to the giver in unexpected ways. She stayed seated on the thin carpet, listening to Jenny describe the endless balancing act of chronic illness, poverty, single parenthood, and the quiet dignity of trying to manage it all without burdening her son. Elijah kept glancing between the two women, as if trying to understand how the worlds of his childhood and his mother's past suddenly connected. And in that tiny living room, Caitlin made a promise that came not from pity but from recognition, from seeing the woman who had once seen her. Over the following weeks, she used her platform carefully, not as a celebrity swooping in to save someone, but as a bridge, finding healthcare advocates, working with community organizations, visiting whenever her training schedule allowed, making sure Jenny understood she was not receiving charity but solidarity. She purchased their groceries discreetly, slipped Elijah new trainers after noticing the duct tape, and checked Jenny's glucose levels when she visited, learning the signs of a dangerous crash. Elijah, freed from the constant fear of losing his mother, began to laugh more easily, to play outside, to talk excitedly about school. For the first time in years, he felt allowed to be a child. When Caitlin launched the No Child Should Have to Choose campaign, she did it with the weight of real stories, Jenny's story, Elijah's story, and the countless unseen families fighting the same battle. She met parents who worked 2 jobs yet still rationed their medication, teenagers who went without meals to pay for a parent's insulin, children terrified of becoming orphans simply because a prescription cost more than rent. Caitlin used her post-game interviews, her social media, her influence in the league to push the message that access